Originally, I was going to bring some musicians up here with me and collaborate, but I thought I'd try something new and try to get out of my own way. So we're going to strip it down tonight, just me, you, and the mic. So enjoy listening to what your waitress has to say without having to tip. This is On the Table with Diana Arnold. I really hope you enjoy it. Fact. So much of life is about in which section you get sat. I was born into a family where my dad was handicapped. Cerebral palsy. A doozy. Your brain is fine, but your nervous system isn't. You sort of walk weird and talk different. And I swear that's like the extent of my knowledge about it. It's like it's still what it was to me when I was a kid. My dad walks weird and talks funny. I don't really understand what he says. I don't introduce him to my friends. He's different than the other parents. I was so acutely aware of this. And I was the youngest. And this birth defect is not degenerative. And my dad's IQ was really high. He was sort of a genius. But life is hard on the spirit, isn't it? I mean, especially when your brain doesn't respond as fast as your body does, especially when the world sees you physically, mentally differently than you do. I imagine a lifetime of that might be tough. So I think I got my father at his weakest. And it's a shame that we don't remember what we were like as kids. You know, maybe there are stories or pictures that can help us access, but it's a shame that we cannot remember the feelings of pure bonding and innocence. You know, when your little baby brain just accepted what was. I don't have any visceral memories of that, of the bonding occurring. I don't once remember feeling completely comfortable around my dad. It all got blurred and buried by my consciousness, like his physicality. I don't know why, it just scared me as a kid. And I tried to keep that deep in. And so I always looked at everything from the outside in, what my experience was, but then also how others would see it. I've always had this really strong sense that there are so many experiences that can come from the one same moment. And I want to think as like a kid that I was the same, you know, that I was like bold and generous, a performer or a ham. But I wasn't. That stuff came late. My mom tells me I was really shy and afraid. And maybe because they were boys, it was okay for my brothers, but like from the jump, from birth, I always saw my father as other. And I know that that's normal because he was, and I don't blame myself, I was a kid, but how did I know that? How did I know to think of him as anything else but my dad? When was the shift? How come I was never afforded a time of innocence, void of circumstance? When did I decide to look at and feel every situation from every perspective? How did I become, or was I just born sensitive? How did I know that my father was in so much need more than me? I don't know. When I was an infant, and I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm only now just seeing it. And that is because I am 31 and I don't trust anyone. And I don't want to be like that anymore. So my mom came over because I was getting us some weed delivered, but also by coincidence, it happened to be Christmas. So we wound up exchanging some gifts. My family, what's left of it, is only now getting good at receiving things because I think like when you don't have money, which we didn't, sometimes you can get bad at giving. And I mentioned this and I said, you know, Mom, You got lucky. You were happy. You actually fell in love. And Merry Christmas, you had some really good kids. Yeah, she says. I did. And I said, so what were some of our conversations like when I was a kid? Well, you didn't need much. Really? I felt like I did. I must have felt like Dad was in so much need that with my own, I had to be more selective. Yeah, she says. You never really connected to him. Like you were a part of things, and you did what you knew a daughter should do, but inside you were really scared of him too. You knew? Yeah, you would come up to me and say, Mommy, don't die. Mommy, don't go. Dad won't be able to take care of us like you do. And he was a wonderful man and a great dad, but practically, physically in the world, I just knew it wouldn't be accepted. Somehow in my head, I just knew the difference. It's not your fault. Well, why didn't you guys help? Why didn't you notice this detachment even though I was correct in it? Why didn't you two try to pay a little more attention to it? She says, you seemed fine. Diana, you knew how to be present. You knew how to be part of a thing. You know, in the living room with all of us, part of the family, but also not really part of it, all at the same time. And it hits me. Christmas morning, this is still what I'm doing. I mean, this is why I am so good at so many things. This is why I am so good at my job. This is why I am so well suited to waitressing, because I can be ever present on a dining room floor, be always part of, but not part of a thing. You know, I am at your table, but I am not at your table. I understand that duality. I've made a career of it, actually. And this is what service is to me. I know what you need before you need it. And I've had my own experiences, so I don't push anything. My presence just influences it. And I get it. I get why I'm good at it. An eighth of weed later, I'm not even mad about it. You know, I take care of my tables so well, and yet I've never felt taken care of by anyone besides myself. But in the last 2 years, there's been a shift. My job feels different, like more important. And I think I've distilled it. It's because after not being taken care of in all of these restaurants for all of these years, I finally work for someone who does. And it's absolutely changed how I work. I am better than I have ever been. I mean, it's absolutely changed how I live, and that is because I work for someone who gives. A love letter to my boss. I have never worked harder for anybody else. Not once. I never had the trust. I didn't think if I actually did my best that it would be appreciated, and I never believed in the ones making the decisions. But I agree with every single thing that you have ever said or done. And you're human in this way that I think is so important for employees to see. I can't walk in and do the bare minimum. How can I? You aren't. I walk into work and you are hard at work making your mark on the world. At table 20, at 4:30, I get to see you achieving your dreams. And you're doing that is helping me achieve mine. And that kind of symbiosis, the way I love to learn from what my boss notices, comes around very few times in a lifetime. This job has changed my life. I mean, I'm born to do this, right? Not just waitress, because now it's evolved into something more. In the West Village of New York City, I work the door. Okay, I greet 300 strangers a night, 5 nights a week. Could I be any more lucky? No.
No, I couldn't be. I fit into this job so perfectly. I literally stand at an open door facing New York City and have no idea what's coming for me.
I mean, thrilling. And also comforting. This is how much of my life has felt for me. And I make sure to always work somewhere busy because I know myself enough to know that I am healthier when I keep my own focus off of me. It's like being in service is finally making sense to me. But I've been doing the same thing for so long. I've always been a waitress. What happened? What changed? For 15 years, since the second day I arrived here at Alice's, these shifts, right? These 6-a-week shifts, these doubles for decades. I worked brunch on the weekends at 8 a.m. for 4 years in college, age 17 to 21. I never once went out on the weekends. My restaurant was my education. And nothing has changed since then. It still is. I still don't go out on the weekends. I start work at 5 p.m. and I get 2 days to your every one. But my question is, if the thing I have been the longest is a waitress, why now am I just beginning to experience the joy of it? Well, I think what happened is the only difference that there ever is. There has always been joy. I'm now just able to be aware of it. It's like I'm finally letting myself care about it. Because I walk in and I clock in and there has been a running monologue in my head through every shift. If I don't write about it, it won't be worth it. If I don't write about it, it won't be worth it. If I don't write about it, it won't be worth it. But I'm so tired when I get home. From hours of being on a dining room floor, I'm so tired from hours of absorbing that when I get home, I don't want to write about it anymore. I mean, before I even open my apartment door, I'm on the subway, actively decompressing from 9+ hours of sweating in the same place. I haven't been outside all day like a rat in a cage. What, I'm supposed to come home and face a blank page? No way. I don't always have that much courage. Who takes care of you when you get home from work? That's the hardest question I get asked by customers. Because if I'm honest, when I get home, I can't even pour myself a glass of water. I'm trying to do better. But when I'm down, I think of Woody Allen. He's got this line in one of his films. He's with a prostitute, and he's like, so, how'd you get into this sort of thing? And she goes, sure beats the hell out of waitressing. And I think about that. Like, I do the job that nobody wants to have. I have the job where you'd rather be on the other side, where you want to be on the receiving end, and I don't know why exactly, y'all. I don't know what it is about me, but I see that as an advantage. I'm very good at making the best of what I'm given.